We don't need to see my full head there. Very exciting day. I have a guest coming on who we actually don't know how long it's been. We tried to figure that out and we couldn't do it before we jumped on air. So looking forward to today's show. We'll get the intro out of the way. Welcome to Stuff It, a fantasy basketball podcast. Part of the Old Man Squad, brought to you by FanDuel and FanTrax. Go and find the Old Man Squad YouTube channel, subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. And if you're listening on the audio platforms, whichever one that is, please download. Go and find us. Do both. Numbers count at this time of year. Let's bring him on. Zak Hanshew, welcome to first time on this show. Actually, I definitely know that you haven't been on this show. You were on my previous show. How's life?
Life is great, man. I am honored to be on this show. I appreciate you having me on, man, and really looking forward to talking hoops with you again. Like you said, it's been way too long.
It has been, and I'm actually going to start with you. Reminded me of something that we need to talk about because you are some people that watch me, I suppose, may not have seen you on a show or do go and follow Zak and follow me and follow Roto World and follow everything. Tyrese Haliburton, you are a Tyrese Haliburton fan.
Oh yeah.
What did you think of the sad end to the 2024-25 season with the Achilles injury? It was pretty rough.
I think sad is probably about the only word you can use. I mean, we can jump all the way to devastating if you want. I mean, for that Indiana squad to push them 7 games and then for him to come out and I think he fired off 9 points in the first, 5 or 6 minutes before the injury. It looked like he was on his way to a 40 burger and Indiana was just going to pull off the greatest upset of the century. So I think we got robbed of probably a very classic finals ending here. I mean, we hadn't had a game 7 since LeBron, and I think it was going to come down to the wire here if Haliburton played like he was playing to start. So we got robbed, man. I'm disappointed, heartbroken for Haliburton, but just hope he comes back healthy next season and ready to get after it.
So I was watching. We'll get into the content very shortly. Trust me. But I was watching. It was late last night. I'm not hungover. I'm just tired because it was about 11:30 at night, and I watched The Office a lot. So I'd watched a couple of episodes of The Office, and then I was ready for bed. And then for whatever reason, something reminded me that hey, I think the new series of Starting Five on Netflix came out today. So I thought I'll just have a quick look, and sure enough, there it was. And I thought I'll just watch the first 5 minutes of the first episode and see. I know I'm going to like it, but I'll watch it. And it's the first 2 minutes is the Haliburton injury, and it shows him in the locker room with his family crying and that sort of thing. And so I ended up watching the whole first episode, of course, and it was 1 a.m. before I got to bed. But I was watching that and seeing his emotions sort of spill over in the locker room and that sort of thing. And my first thought was, man, when he comes back next season, he is going to be on a mission, I think, because he talks about how important it was to winning the title and how bad it would be to lose in a game 7 and to lose that way. I just think he's going to come out next season. And if we jump ahead, do you expect him to just get back to the same? I mean, he's quite young, so that's obviously in his favor. Do you expect him to be as good, if not better, when he comes back?
Yeah, I do expect him to be as good. I think maybe there's going to be a little rust, maybe a little ramp up to start the season, the 2026-27 season. But by the end of the season, I think he's going to be in full form and as good, if not better.
Now, where are we? I did just see, now this is, I don't know when Dan will release this episode, but I did just see that also guard related, I suppose, Jaden Ivey out for a month or reevaluated in a month. I know he'd been a pretty popular sort of back-endish target. So that's another injury to add to the list of growing preseason ailments. I mean, anything you're doing there in Detroit with him gone, Duncan Robinson, is he going to play a little bit more? I mean, who do we see step in? I'm assuming Ivy was going to start. So who do we sort of think might step in there and have a larger role for, well, a month, I guess?
Yeah, I'm not sure with this one. I mean, Detroit's formula last year was, surround Cade with shooters, don't play anybody a whole ton of minutes that they don't need to, kind of share the love a little bit, which, we talked about this on the Roto World show the other day. Maybe there's some other teams that kind of follow that blueprint this season. Um, Duncan Robinson is a guy maybe who can come out here and get you some threes. I'm not super excited about him.
Mm,
I think the guy I would look at would be Karis LeVert if I'm looking at anybody, just
yeah.
because we've seen what he can do with assists, with rebounds, scoring the basketball. He's an electric scorer at times. I mean, he'll give you 40 one night and then 0 the next. I mean, so it's kind of
Mm,
that roller coaster that you get with him, but the ceiling is far higher than it is for Duncan. So if I'm taking a
yeah.
shot on anybody, it's Karis.
All right, let's transition into sleepers. Where we talked about this. I mean, sleepers are what sleepers are. We all talk about them at this time of the year. We are, what are we? 5 days from the start of the regular season, something like that. So a lot of last minute drafts taking place this weekend, I would assume. So yeah, I thought we'd just go through a few of the players that you're high on. Maybe there's some names there that others aren't high on. We all have our own opinions. So let's jump off. Number one, who's the first player you want to talk about?
Yeah, man. So we're just talking about guys taken outside the top 100 here.
Yep.
So I'll start with the super boring pick, and this is very old man squad appropriate here. So I'm going to go with Jrue Holiday with my first selection. Um, I don't see how it can get any worse than it did last season, right? I mean, he saw
Yeah.
dips in several different categories. The assists were the lowest that he's had since his rookie season. I think those assist numbers trend way up this season. He had 3.9 last year. 2 seasons prior, he had over 7 when he was with the Bucks. So we know what he can do as a facilitator. And we all know assists are very tough to find later in your drafts. So I think Jrue Holiday is a guy that I'm looking at later, especially if I, went a little bit light on my guards early on in the draft. Um, and especially Portland may be semi-competitive this year. I mean, that's
Mm.
always a big maybe, but I think they're playing like they're going to be competitive. So he's going to see some run early on, especially with Scoot injured. Now, what that looks like once Scoot comes back, not sure. But at least to start the season, I think Drew's really going to be a guy that's going to give you some value.
Yeah, I sort of agree. He's not someone I've ended up with in a lot of drafts, but with the Scoot injury, I think there were question marks when Scoot was healthy as to what. I mean, we were even asking, will Jrue Holiday play for this team? That was a
Yeah.
discussion that was being had. Um, but I guess the reading the tea leaves and the sort of the narrative coming out of Portland is that Damian Lillard, Jrue Holiday, they had a lot to do with recruiting each other. So to me, that would say that Jrue Holiday is here. Obviously, he was traded here, but he has some interest in playing for this team. And as you said, they could be moderately competitive. They were a bit surprising last season. They've got rid of that sort of that weight that is DeAndre Ayton, so they can move off of him. The final piece, I suppose, to this is getting rid of Jeremy Grant, who's been there for forever and seems to be on the trade block every season. Um, so, yeah, look, I think Jrue Holiday is going to play a big role, and he is coming off a pretty poor season in Boston there. But, yeah, as you said, assists, points, they're really hard to get late in drafts. So, yeah, I don't mind Jrue Holiday as well. Who is number two for you?
Let's stay in Portland, man. I'm not sure if you were expecting two Trailblazers here on this show, but let's go with it. This is a deeper league pick. I'm really intrigued by Yang Hansen.
Mm,
I'm really curious to see what he can do this season if Portland decides to give him some rotation minutes, which they might. Obviously, Donovan Clingan is your guy. If you're going
yeah.
for a later round center, he's a great option, right? We saw what he could do after he got the starting job last year. As you mentioned, DeAndre Ayton is gone. They're still carrying a couple backup centers. They still have Time Lord, which obviously his time's up. I don't expect him to see too much playing time this season. But Hansen's a guy that he's been praised in camp. He's done well in the preseason. International work speaks for itself. I mean, and this guy's huge, right? He's 7'1", like 260 pounds. So he's a big body in the lane. He can block shots. He can score. He can rebound. And if Klingon is forced to miss time for any reason, I think Hansen is a guy who could step in immediately and get you, maybe he's a double-double guy with a couple of blocks. And that's huge for somebody that you could get with your last pick in a draft.
Yeah, he looked good at Summer League. I spoke about him a couple of months ago. He looks more mobile than I expected, which that was a good thing to see. He got up and down the floor quite well. Obviously, as you said, Donovan Klingon is the starter there. Robert Williams is sort of the wild card because I guess he'll come back and play at some point, but who knows when and for how long. So we can't eliminate Robert Williams. So that's always sort of just hanging over our heads in terms of how high do we project Yang Hansen. But I do think in his favour is the fact that I'm not sure Donovan Klingon will be a 30-plus minute player. Even though he'll start, I think he'll be 27, 28, that sort of thing, which if you do the quick maths there, that gives Yang Hansen 18 to 20 minutes a game, which is not elite by any means, but we do know these big men who can block shots, pass the ball. They only need 20, 22 minutes to sort of be on the radar. So, yeah, I don't mind taking a bit of a chance on him. I've drafted him in a couple of deeper leagues this season just to see what happens. So, yeah, I do think they've got a good one there. And obviously the fact that they took that chance on him in the draft, a lot of people were surprised they took him. That tells us, again, reading the tea leaves, that they're passionate about him. They want to develop him. They see him as a piece of what they're trying to do there. So that, again, tells me they don't want to play him 6 minutes a game and have him doing nothing. They want to see what he can do with this young core that they've got. So, yeah, excited to see what he can do. Third player, are we still in Portland or are we moving around?
Let's move around, man. Let's come out here east. We are going to shift over to Charlotte. I'll talk about a guy that I picked up in our Roto World mock the other day, a guy that is right on the same page as Hansen in terms of size, 7'1", 260 pounds, Ryan Kalkbrenner out of Creighton. This guy has been equally impressive in the preseason. He's been great in camp. A lot of positive things out of Charlotte about him. Charlotte's, I would say, Achilles heel for the last several seasons, especially with Mark Williams not able to stay on the court. It's been the front court rotation, and it looks like Kalkbrenner is a guy that's probably going to be. If I had to guess, I would say he's your opening night starter. If he's not, it won't be long before he takes over that position. So I think this is another guy who can rebound, who can score, who can block shots at a high level. This is a guy who's probably going to see, I'm guessing he's going to see in the 25-minute range. And if he can do that, it's going to be big time production for him. I do not trust any of Charlotte's other options at center. I think Kalkbrenner's your best option there. And he's a guy you can get. I got him with my second to last pick in our Roto World draft. And that was a draft full of the brightest minds in the industry. So this is a guy who's going to be available late for you.
Hang on, sorry, I was on mute there. That was me. I've taken him in a lot of leagues. So you actually took him from me, which I sort of knew he was going to go somewhere. Yeah, very high on him. Again, I thought he had a really good summer league, and there's question marks. It's Charlotte. We know that their decision making is not always top shelf when it comes to playing whoever. Mason Plumlee, I really hope that Mason Plumlee doesn't play. And common sense would say that he shouldn't, but common sense and Charlotte don't always sit together nicely in a sentence. So, yeah, I would love to see Kalkbrenner out there playing. Now, I don't think, as you said, he's not going to come out and play 30 minutes, typical starters minutes, even if he starts, because I do think they want to get Moussa Diabate some run as well. But 24 minutes, he could flirt with a double-double. Sort of, he's not going to be a high-volume scorer, but just with LaMelo feeding him the ball, Brandon Miller, even Miles Bridges, they can hit him in the right spots. And if so, he might get 8 to 10 points, 8 to 10 rebounds, 1.2, 1.3 blocks. And that's valuable for a guy that you can get at pick 150. So I'm certainly all aboard there with Ryan Kalkbrenner. Speaking of Kalkbrenner, rookie, obviously a rookie coming into this season, Cooper Flagg is the odds-on favourite to win Rookie of the Year. If you jump, well, reminder, FanDuel. So head over to FanDuel to have a look at the odds there. Cooper Flagg is the favourite to win Rookie of the Year. Do you see anyone else potentially who could potentially win it, assuming Cooper Flagg stays healthy? If he gets injured and only plays 30 games, he won't win it. But if he stays healthy, is there actually anyone who can challenge for this title?
I mean, I hate to be a wet blanket here, but no. I mean, he's the odds-on favorite for a reason, right? I mean, barring injury, I think he's going to be the runaway favorite and the runaway winner here for it.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're looking at who's going to take it after him, who's going to come in second, I mean, my money's on Ace Bailey. I'm really high on Ace Bailey this year.
Okay.
Um, but other guys that could compete, I think Con Knipple could have a really good season. Will stay in Charlotte here. I think he could be great. I think Jeremiah Fears, whose odds are a little bit longer. I think there's a path to meaningful minutes there in New Orleans backcourt, and he's a guy that really intrigues me. So those would be the guys I would be looking at. But I think barring injury, Flag is going to be your man.
Yeah, I think so. And the odds reflect that. I mean, he's quite
Yeah.
comfortably the favourite there. Yeah, I like Ace Bailey. I mean, I guess if the Philadelphia season goes to the crapper again, like it has the last couple of years, VJ Edgecombe could end up playing 32 minutes a night and have a pretty solid season. But yeah, I think Cooper Flagg is just going to be too important to that team right out of the gate, and no Kyrie Irving, obviously. They're already. I mean, do you think that Cooper Flagg is going to start at point guard? They've run with him as the starting point guard for the last two preseason games with D'Angelo Russell off the bench. Is that a trial for what could happen opening night, or are they just simply shuffling things up to look at different rotations?
I think they're shuffling things up to look at different rotations. But putting him at point guard does show his versatility.
Mm.
So maybe he doesn't start at point guard opening night, but that doesn't mean that he won't be your starting point guard at some point during the season. Maybe they like that jumbo lineup with him at point guard.
Mm.
I mean, they could offer one of the biggest teams in basketball. Maybe they're playing Cleveland, and they
Yeah.
want to have some bigger guys out there on the floor. Um, it, I think it's going to be matchup driven. So I think we will see some of that during the regular season. I just don't know if it'll be an every night type of thing.
Yeah, and that was probably my biggest takeaway from. I mean, Cooper Flagg only played 2 games at Summer League, so it wasn't a big sample size. But looking at him on the court, I mean, we knew what he can do and how good a player he was. But the biggest takeaway for me was how comfortable he looked with the ball in his hands. So I'm not surprised that they are going down that path of at least experimenting with it. So, yes, do head over to FanDuel, sportsbook.fanduel.com. The odds are all there. As I said, 5 days away from the start of the season. So get your bets on and cross your fingers and see what happens this season. All right, sleeper number 4. Who are we going with?
Well, I mean, I think you have proven to be great at segues today. So you talked about Philly going into the crapper, and maybe they will. So I will take a look at Quentin Grimes. This is a guy that obviously he probably won some people their leagues last year. I mean, this dude was
Yeah.
phenomenal. Once he went to Philly, final 25 games of the season, he started 23 points, 5.2 rebounds. I'm looking at these numbers right here: 4.6 assists, 1.6 steals. I mean, this dude was phenomenal. Couple of 40-point games, couple of 30 burgers in there. He just did a little bit of everything. I was shocked that it took Philly so long to get his contract negotiated.
Mm.
He's a guy that I think will be playing with a bit of a chip on his shoulder this season, just because he didn't get signed right away. It took so long, to get him back in action here in the offseason. So I think he will be playing for some pride. Obviously, Jared McCain now is dealing with a thumb injury, so that's a
Yep.
potential avenue for him to get some more minutes. Paul George isn't expected to be ready for the opener. That's another avenue for minutes. We never know what's going on with Joel Embiid. I know he doesn't play that position, but again, more rotational minutes up for
Mm.
grabs. So yeah, I'm very intrigued to see what Quentin Grimes can do this season, and I think he's kind of the odd man out in Philly when people are looking at their fantasy draft board. I don't see him being a popular sleeper pick right now, but he's somebody that I think is being overlooked and can really provide you some good value.
Yeah, you're right. He is probably someone I haven't really talked about on this show or heard talked about too much. And it's a little bit surprising, given, as you said, he probably won a lot of people their leagues last season. He was great on both ends of the floor. He was getting steals, he was hitting threes, playing big minutes as a result of injury. But this is Philadelphia we're talking about. Like you said, Paul George already basically ruled out for opening night. Joel Embiid, anyone's guess, and Jared McCain out with a thumb injury. So there's minutes there. I mean, Kelly Oubre is, we sort of hear his name floated as someone they might look to move off at some point. So do they prioritize Quentin Grimes over him to some degree? I'm not sure. But yeah, there's minutes there to be had at the moment. And for, we talk about sleepers, Kalkbrenner, Young Hansen, these players. We haven't actually seen them on an NBA court, so this is all hypothetical. We've seen Quentin Grimes in 32 minutes. We've seen what he can do. He did it last season. So, yeah, I am surprised that he isn't talked about a little bit more. So a good name there. Next one, number 5. Yeah, 5. We're up to 5.
Yeah, let's move on down the list here. We'll go back out west, and surprisingly, ADP outside the top 100. I'm looking here at Steph Castle, man. I don't know why he's not getting more love. I think the path to a top 100 finish is, I mean, it's right there in front of us, especially with De'Aaron Fox being out to start the season. They drafted Dylan Harper, but Castle is your reigning rookie of the year, and that's for good reason. Just like Quentin Grimes, Castle started the final. I'm pulling these numbers up here now. Started the final 18 games of the season,
Mm-hmm.
19 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Not a tremendous three-point shooter, not going to rack up a ton of defensive numbers, but a guy that can get me 19, 5, and 5 outside the top 100, and there's going to be opportunities for him playing alongside Victor Wembanyama, who's going to attract a ton of defensive attention. Again, this is another guy later in drafts that can score the basketball and can get you assists, two things that are, as you mentioned, very tough to find later in drafts. So that's where I'm looking here, especially if I've kind of skimped out on guards early in my draft.
Mm-hmm.
Jrue Holiday's one, and certainly Steph Castle is a guy that I'll be targeting later if he's available.
Yeah, he's sort of a funny one because he is Rookie of the Year, reigning Rookie of the Year, as you mentioned, but it doesn't feel like there was a lot of hype around that award or that there's any pressure on him coming into the season. Like people, I think, just not sweep this to the side, but they just sort of say, well, it wasn't a good draft class, so he won Rookie of the Year. Doesn't really matter. Almost like when Michael Carter-Williams won it or
Right.
Malcolm Brogdon won it. So the pressure isn't there that we would see on like if Cooper Flagg wins Rookie of the Year coming into next season, he'll be hyped. People will want to draft him. He's had a good year.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to be the case for Steph Castle and with as you said, with Fox out for potentially a couple of games. We don't know. It's a hamstring he's dealing with. I'm fairly certain that it's a hamstring for Fox. Yeah. So they're always tricky. And the Spurs obviously want to get him on the court, but they have visions of being a competitive team this season, so they don't want to risk running De'Aaron Fox out there for game 3 when they need him for game 53, 73. They need him later in the season. So, yeah, I do think Steph Castle is someone that isn't being talked about at all. Dylan Harper being there, he actually gets more attention, I think, than Stephon Castle, which a good player as well, and draft pedigree with him. But yeah, I liked what Castle did. There's some issues as there is with anyone that you're going to draft in this range. They're not going to be perfect. So efficiency, that sort of thing. But very good rebounder for a guard. I think that sort of I know he's got Wemby there, who's a very good rebounder as well. But yeah, I thought that was one of the aspects of his game last season that impressed me down the stretch was his ability to grab rebounds for a guard. So those out of position stats are always valuable once you get past pick 100, 120. All right, next player.
Yeah, I'm going to move on to a guy who I wrote up for Roto World. I took him in our mock draft the other day, and I fell in love with this guy last year. I mentioned it on the show the other day, but got to see him play against Phoenix last year, hit 6 threes as Washington failed to come back in the fourth quarter against Kevin Durant. Hell of a game. This is Keyshawn George from the Wizards. I think he's been getting a little bit more hype recently. He's not necessarily a sleeper who hasn't gotten the attention he deserves. But I still think he's flying a little bit too far under the radar right now. So we're looking at a guy, the numbers don't pop off the page from last season, but he played a lot of minutes for Washington last season as a rookie, is continuing to get better. Another guy who has, by all accounts, played great in camp. He's looked good in the preseason. 6'8", long and lanky, can shoot the lights out from 3. Averaged a steal and 0.7 blocks in just under 27 minutes last season. Which, if those numbers tick up and those minutes tick up, we're looking at a guy who can get you some pretty solid defensive contributions late in your draft, and occasionally pop off for some big scoring nights and big 3-point nights. So that's a guy that I'm really looking at here later in my drafts, especially with Koulibaly out to start the season. I know there's been kind of a theme here with these players, but opportunity matters in fantasy hoops for sure. And I think this is a guy who is going to push for 30 minutes a night this season.
Yeah, I could do a whole show on Keyshawn George. So I'm absolutely on board with this one. I've taken him in a lot of drafts. I don't want to, actually, I can probably have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have him in 6 teams already this season. It could come back to bite me, but yeah, look, I thought he impressed down the stretch last year. He got an ankle injury, which I thought derailed him a little bit because he was building some really nice momentum, and then he missed, I want to say, 2 weeks, something like that. And yeah, so slowed him a little bit, but I thought he looked really good in Summer League. He's looked good in the preseason, and defensive numbers I think are going to be there. I think that's sort of what he's building his identity around, those defensive stats. But offensively, I do think Washington, as a team with very little to play for this season other than developing young players, will try to get the ball in his hands a bit more, whether it's as a point guard or off guard. So I think the scoring it'll be rough. There'll be nights where he shoots sort of 3 of 12, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think just the path that he's on at the moment and the trajectory, and the Koulibaly injury helps. But to me, you've got to be playing him over Chris Middleton, prioritizing him over. I know CJ McCollum's going to play minutes, but both of those guys they're not sticking around, I don't think. So yeah, I love Keyshawn George, and I actually took him in I did it's a real draft with the Insight Fantasy guys the other night, and I think I took Keyshawn George at about a pick 110. And there were some questions in the chat like, did you take the right George? Did you mean to take Keontae? I went, no, I meant to take Keyshawn. Right. I think Keontae is who Keontae is. He's going to score, but he doesn't do a lot else. So no, I'm certainly on board with with Keyshawn George. Now, we've got about 5 minutes till I have to let you go. Any other names you quickly want to mention before I do set you free?
Yeah, just a couple. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them,
Yeah.
but you and I talked before we jumped in here. I'm big on Ace Bailey this year. I think Utah
Mm-hmm.
is going to prioritize its young guys. He's a guy that's going to see a ton of run. He looked awesome in the preseason. I know he's dealing with some knee stuff right now, but I think they're holding him out for precautionary reasons. There's been no indication that it's going to cost him any time to open the regular season. So I am pretty high on Ace Bailey going into fantasy drafts, and this is in category and points leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a guy that I'm looking at just in points leagues because I don't know how much he's going to offer outside of scoring, but I think he's going to do a good bit of scoring this year. I'm looking at Jonathan Kuminga as a
Mm.
late round points guy. I mean, if you're in a categories league and you're short on points, Kuminga certainly can be a guy that you can grab. We saw what he did, once Steve Kerr finally, I don't know, got over whatever, whatever was going on last year and put him in against Minnesota in that second round. And he was electric as a scorer. So we
Mm.
know what he can do on offense. I think Golden State's going to have to try to showcase him. They're going to move him. He's not going to stick around. I think the
No.
relationship's gotten to be too contentious at this point. So he's gone. They're going to showcase him. He's going to be playing with a big chip on his shoulder. And so that's for the first part of the season. And then once he's flipped, whichever team picks him up, they're going to be incentivized to play him a ton. So I think he has a path to playing big minutes and scoring a lot of points this season.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's sticking around there, but he's a proven scorer. So, yeah, if you need points, if you're in a points league, and Ace Bailey, I think there were some question marks about how motivated was he? Did he want to be in Utah? But he's looked good in the preseason. Some of their younger players have looked good as well. Bryce Sensabaugh, I think, has played really well. Taylor Hendricks has looked good. So, yeah, things I think are looking up in Utah, which is good for a team that's been so bad for so long now and haven't really had a purpose or a direction. So, yeah, I'm crossing my fingers that they're better this year. And Walker Kessler, Lowry Markin, all these guys who are very valuable in fantasy can actually play more than 50 games.
Right.
So, yeah, fingers crossed there. All right, so I'm going to let you go. Where can people find you? Where can they find your work?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter or X, I guess it's called, at Zach the Monster. And I am writing for Roto World alongside some very talented colleagues.
Mm.
So you can check us out at Roto World. We have Draft Kit up and available. We have videos and analysis from some other great folks like Noah Rubin, Raphael Johnson, Eric Samolsky. So check out Roto World, check out our NBA stuff. There's plenty of articles and analysis out there. And Kingy, thanks so much for having me on, man. It's been a blast.
No, my pleasure. The Roto World Fantasy Basketball podcast, I assume, will be starting soon too. They normally do a weekly show. Noah, Dan, and Raphael.
Yep.
I don't know if they're the three returning, but they were there last year, so that's always a good listen as well. Thanks again for jumping on. Thank you to everyone for watching and listening. Again, please go and subscribe to the Old Man Squad YouTube channel and download all the episodes and thumbs up and rate and do all of that stuff. All right, we're going to get out of here. He is Zak Hanshew. I'm Adam King. This has been Stuff It, a fantasy basketball podcast. We are done.